Holly Rowe of ESPN. Holly, welcome to BYU Sports Nation.
Thank you for having me. Fun to talk to you guys. It's been a while.
It's good to reunite with someone who knows the inner workings of BYU broadcasting and has worked with a number of people here. And now here you are watching BYU compete for a national championship as kind of the Cinderella run through the NCAA tournament. What's the reaction from everyone in Oklahoma City and at ESPN about BYU's run to the final?
Well, it is so thrilling. They are doing something that no other team in history has ever done. An unseeded team has never played in the national championship, and here BYU is knocking on the door. And to get here, it's been a very difficult road. They've had to beat 4 seeded teams on their way here, and so what they're accomplishing right now is almost unheard of in the volleyball world.
It seems like BYU's got a very relaxed yet competitive vibe to them, to where they know, you know what, we've gone farther than maybe we even expected. Maybe not. But what's the vibe you get from BYU?
Well, they're having a nice balance of having a lot of fun. So yesterday after practice, they spent about 20 minutes taking photos that were hilarious. Like they were up in the stands posing, laying on the floor, at the net, doing all this really funny stuff. And then at the end of that, Coach pulled everybody in together, and Olmstead said, hey, listen, okay, we're in pre-match mode now, so tell your friends and family we're not going to be visiting tonight, we're not going to be chatting, we're going to lock it down, go to team dinner, watch film, and really try to have already had the fun and now really get into a championship mindset.
So they almost had to get the giggles out. That's tough to do when you're staring at your coach's tournament stash, which has taken on a life of its own, right?
Oh, my gosh, it has. It's been so funny. The funniest thing was, those of us who know about the BYU Honor Code were like, hey, wait a minute, you can't have this mustache. But he actually got an email from the president of BYU that kind of was like, all right, I like it. It's going well. So I think he's got the blessing of those above. The girls love it. It's kind of taken on a life of its own, and it's just one little fun element. But I hope it doesn't overshadow his coaching, because he was named the National Coach of the Year. Think about that. In just his 4th season, and a young guy that won some national championships as a player, and now he's doing it as a coach. It's just remarkable.
Yeah, Sean's been fantastic. He's one of the funnest guys to talk to on campus for sure. Lots of compelling storylines, Holly, around this match. What's the most compelling storyline to you?
Well, I really think this setting matchup is fascinating. So on Penn State's side, they have the National Player of the Year, a senior setter in Micah Hancock, and she's playing at home in Oklahoma. She's from 20 minutes away. On the other side of the net for BYU, you have a basketball player who's a freshman who is starting her 3rd match of the season, and it's the national championship in Alohi Robbins Hardy. So Alohi is a freshman for BYU. They have put her into a starting role just in the last 3 matches. And just try to imagine a freshman on this stage, and come to believe she's on a basketball scholarship and has been playing for the Cougars on the hardwood this season as well. So it's just a really 2 very different paths to get to this national championship match for these 2 setters.
Yeah, we talked to Alohi yesterday, and she seems remarkably composed for having now started in the Elite 8, which was a win, and the Final Four, which was an impressive win over number 2 seed Texas, and now she gets to compete in the national championship. So we asked her, do you feel nerves? And she said, no, not really. So I guess I need to get some of whatever she's been eating and drinking, because I'd like to calm down like her.
Well, it's funny. I've covered some events where they had a lot of freshmen. I think back to when Maryland won the women's national championship in basketball with 4 freshmen. And at that time, they just didn't know any better. I don't think they have really comprehended or wrapped their mind around what a big stage this is and what a big moment this is. And so that's kind of cool, is if you don't know any better, you don't know to be nervous. And that same group of freshmen from Maryland, they never got back to the Final Four, because the weight of the expectation and the weight of the performance in that moment kind of caught up to them. So I think it's fascinating, the psychology of, sometimes you just don't know as a freshman how big this moment is, and that's okay.
As someone who covers other women's sports, like you mentioned, around the NCAA, where does Jennifer Hampson fit in terms of the elite athletes nationally?
Well, it's funny, because I have that BYU background, we were having this debate on, is she the best female athlete to ever come out of BYU? And, the national folks, I had to say, hey, wait a minute. Shauna Robach was pretty good for women's soccer, played with the U.S. national team, and then won a silver medal in bobsled, and also competed at the NCAA in the heptathlon. And so I brought up her name, and then Tiffany Lott used to be a fantastic heptathlete for BYU and a 55-meter hurdle national champion. So, but Jen might go down in history as maybe the best. She certainly accomplished very much, getting to the Sweet 16 with basketball last March. And just, 6 months later or so, here she is in the championship.
It's tough to argue against Jen Hampton and what she's done because of those deep NCAA tournament runs. Went to the Sweet 16 the year before she took basketball to the Sweet 16. So she's gone Sweet 16 volleyball, Sweet 16 basketball, and now national championship volleyball, which is something to note for sure. Holly Rowe joining us from Oklahoma City. She will sideline the national championship volleyball match between BYU and Penn State tonight, live on ESPN2. What's the vibe like in Oklahoma City surrounding the volleyball Final Four?
It's been very exciting because they also have the national coaching convention going on. So there are hundreds, if not thousands, of volleyball coaches walking around, talking the sport, having meetings. They had the All-American presentation yesterday. I actually got to meet and interview Carrie Walsh Jennings, who's the famous beach volleyball player with 3 Olympic gold medals.
Yeah.
So just this buzz, there's all this excitement. So many of the national team players are here, really as ambassadors for the sport of volleyball. So I would say it's a big buzz. It's very exciting.
What kind of fan reception has BYU, or did BYU have Thursday, and that you've seen around town?
Well, there's a Cinderella story, and everybody kind of embraces that underdog role. And whether it's right or not, Penn State has won it so much. Sometimes people get tired of the teams who win it a lot, like UConn or Tennessee back in the day, or Alabama football comes to mind. Sometimes people get fatigued with those teams being in it year after year. But I hope people don't overlook that Penn State is one of the great dynasties in women's volleyball. Russ Rose, I think, will go down maybe best coach in history of women's volleyball. And they're going for their 7th national championship. So, certainly fans appreciate and admire what Penn State has done, but I think we all love a good underdog. At least that's shown throughout history, that people like to see if you can overcome, and that's what BYU has done so far.
Talking with Holly Rowe of ESPN. Holly, how does BYU match up with Penn State tonight? I know you mentioned the setter matchup, but across the board, how do the Cougars match up against the Nittany Lions?
Well, it's fascinating. I feel like Penn State has a little bit more balance in their offense. They have a few more attackers. BYU primarily relies on 2 attackers in Jennifer Hampton and Alexa Gray. So Penn State has maybe a little bit more balance. They have Micah Hancock, their setter, is also the best server you've probably ever seen. It's the left-handed jump serve that has the funkiest spin ever. And so BYU has got to really handle the serve of Penn State. That's going to be a big challenge. I think BYU's block is there and will be there, but there's some other little facets like service attack game and just how smart Micah Hancock is as a setter.
What's your schedule like been today as you watch, I think, both teams serve and pass and prepare for the match tonight?
Well, we got up early and had a big production meeting with all of the announcers. Play-by-play is Beth Mowens, who does all of the women's national championships, and it's terrific. And then Karch Karai is the analyst. And it's been really fun to be around him. He's, of course, one of the more famous men's volleyball players in history. And now he is the coach of the USA national team for women. And so it's been fascinating to hear him teach and explain to us what will be important in the match tonight. And so then we go over the graphics and all the statistics. What are the key storylines that we want to get in tonight? And then we come over here to practice. So it's fun. BYU's out on the court right now.
Holly, I don't know how much of a holiday break you're going to get after the national championship volleyball match, because you work so very hard with ESPN to sideline report for college football. What's your bowl schedule like after Christmas, moving forward with this college football playoff system?
Well, it's kind of fun because it's been freezing here in Oklahoma City, and I just got my check-in notice that I can now check in for my flight to Hawaii. So I'm doing the Hawaii.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Christmas Eve. So I'll go straight from here to Hawaii, and that's between Rice and Fresno State. And then I will go to Utah for 2 days, see my family, and then go straight to New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl between Ohio State and Alabama, which I'm looking forward to. I feel like that is going to be an epic game in this first playoff year. And then I will do the national championship game for ESPN Radio as a sideline reporter. So I'm just excited that I get to be in this playoff and participate I've been begging for a playoff for many years, and I'm just so excited to see it finally come to fruition.
Well, that sounds great to me. That's going to be fantastic, and it all starts tonight. You can watch Holly at 7:30 Eastern Time in Oklahoma City on ESPN2. Holly, great to catch up. Great stuff. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I miss you at BYU, and I love covering the Cougars in the early days of my career. This is a real honor.
Holly Rowe of ESPN. Great to talk to you, Holly.
Thanks, guys.